YouTube when I said that?
YouTube video too. I tried to remind you.
Yeah, forgetful. All right, I'm not quite that senile yet, I don't think. I'm on the way. All right, y equals, so 6.4, we finished 6.3, right? That's what my notes say? Yeah, that's right, I remember, right? Those last couple, I kind of ran out of time. Good catch. Okay. So I didn't know soccer players could use their hands, just their feet. I'm just kidding, Erica. All right. So y equals sine x. We're graphing them. So this section, 6.4, is all about graphing sine and cosine. We've graphed a lot of things in this course, haven't we? I hope that'll be valuable for you if you're going forward into calculus. All right. So how do we graph sine and cosine? Well, first off, let's just do some observing of the graph. They're saying on this one, there's the sine graph. Where's the sine increasing? Increasing means going up, doesn't it? So like if you're riding a roller coaster, if that's a roller coaster, you're going like that. Where are you, in what section are you actually going up? From here to there. Wouldn't you agree? That's the climbing, increasing section of the graph. And where is that on the x-axis, they want to know? Well, on the x-axis, it's from here to here on the x-axis. It's from negative pi over 2 to positive pi over 2. Good? That's all they want on the first grade. Just want you to observe, take a look at the graph, say, hey, from negative pi over 2 to positive pi over 2, the graph is increasing as we go from left to right. Yeah, they just wanted, from here to there, left edge, right edge.
They don't want like a x and a y.
Right. Yeah, it's left edge, right edge of that chunk of the x-axis. Yeah, exactly. All right. Okay, so let's take a look at this one. Now they're saying, where is the sine of x 1? Now, remember, whenever you have any function, and sine is just a function, really, whatever you plug into the function as x, what comes out is y. Remember how that's how functions go on to graphs? Plug in as x, what comes out is y. So when they say, where is the sine of x 1? They're saying, where's y 1? Where's the height 1? Right there. That dot is at a height of 1, isn't it? That's true. And then that's what x value? Pi over 2. At x equals pi over 2, y is at a height of 1. X equals pi over 2, y is at a height of 1. Good so far? That's all they want. Just observing, just making sure they're just giving some easy observation questions. Comment top.
Okay.
Yep.
Well,
Just
that one's easy too.
all right. Look at cosine. Just look for where it starts. Where does a positive 4 cosine have to start? Yeah, it has to start high, not at the origin, like B and C start at the origin. Those are sine graphs. B and C are sine graphs, aren't they? Starting at the origin, it's A. Starting at its top. So there it is, domain and range again, super easy, right? I'll do the range. Range would be -3, +3, right? Bottom, top, brackets. Domain is, again, negative infinity, positive infinity. Left and right forever. Okay. Let me correct that. So this should be -4 to positive. Yeah, because there's a 4 in the front. Yeah, thanks. Good. All right. So let's try that one. Okay, now 4 sine of x minus 1. Now, you guys know, what does a -1 do outside of a function? What does it do to a graph? Yeah, it grabs the whole thing and moves it down 1, doesn't it? So the normal, so think about what that'll do. If you were making it, here's the easy way, I think. If you were making the graph, the normal graph of sine or cosine is centered on the axis, but now move that down 1. Well, I would put it, it's not showing up on my graph very good. So I would put a dotted line at -1, at down 1 here. Because that's what, and just make that your baseline. Does that make sense? That's the new middle line. Because the whole graph is down 1. It's a y effector. It just grabs the whole thing, moves it, grabs the midline, grabs everything, and moves it down 1. So just make yourself a new midline, -1. And then what does the 4 in the front mean? That's the amplitude. That means it goes above the midline by 4 and below the midline
So that would make it go
by
3
4.
and down 5.
Yeah, so it'll go up 1, 2, 3. So it'll go up 1, 2, 3, 4. It goes up to 3. Right? Because that's up 4.
Biggest is, yep.
And it'll go down 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. To negative 5. Can you read that? Yeah. To negative 5. Right? Up 4. It went up 4. And down 4 from the midline of negative 1 to positive 3 and negative 5. That would be its box. Right? From negative 5 to positive 3. The midline here at negative 1. And then you stick a cosine or sine graph in there. What does sine graph start? Origin. And goes up and down. Down and up. Like that. Which one does it? Which one goes from like that?
No one does that as B.
B.
Oh.
That easy enough? That okay? We're going too quick? So again, that minus 1, just grab your midline. Move it down 1, and then the 4 in the front means go up 4 and down 4 from the negative 1 midline.
On the test, is it just going to be 4 then shown, or is it going to be 5 options with the extra option being none of the above?
Graphs, I always just put I don't put an E. Yeah, so it'd be 4 options. All right, so then
Does
they're
parenthesis matters?
parentheses.
Like if you were to parenthesize the x minus 1 together?
Oh yeah, good question, Barbara. Yeah, if we had it like that, that'd be really different because then that would be an X effector, huh?
Okay.
That'd be an X's little world. Remember how that'd be an X? What would that do to a graph?
The opposite, move it to the right.
To the right one, yeah, because X always has opposite effect. Remember that kind of stuff? Opposite effect, that'd be go right one, wouldn't it? That wouldn't be up-down thing at all, huh? Yeah, that would really matter. Good question. Yeah, good. And the domain and range. What's the domain is still negative infinity, positive infinity. No change there. What's the range on this one? I'm just kind of scribbling here. The range, bottom top, negative 5, positive 3, brackets. Good? All right, I'll move on. Okay, so negative 3 cosine pi over 2x plus 4. Negative 3 cosine pi over 2x plus 4. Okay, so what's that plus 4 going to do?
Bring it up.
It's going to take the midline up 4. Take the whole graph, but I think the easiest way to move the whole graph is grab the midline and move it up 4 and then do everything from that new midline. So the new midline is going to be up 4, so this isn't right, is it? So, so I'll do that. So here's 0. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'll put a new dotted midline at up 4. Okay. Now, how far above and below that midline does the graph go?
3.
Amplitude. And the negative means it's going to be upside down, but it'll be 3 above and below. So go 3 above, boom, 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 up to 7, 3 below, down to 1. So it went up 3 and down 3 from 4. So it goes 1 to 7, doesn't it? So there's my box, 1 to 7. And what's the period? Let's do the period down here. Period is 2 pi over b. 2 pi, what's b? Pi over 2. 2 pi over, take that, flip it up. So it's 2 pi times 2 over pi. This over 1, pi's cancel. 4? Just plain 4, no pi, huh? Just plain 4. So the period's 4. So that means over here by 4, it does 1 cycle. Remember that the period is how long till 1 cycle. So I'm going to make a box. So from 0 to 4, and from 1 to 7, from 0 to 4 on the x-axis, 1 to 7 on the y, that box will hold exactly 1 cycle of our graph. Now it's a cosine graph. So cosine graph does not start at the origin. The new origin's the midline. This is the new origin, but he won't start there. Cosine starts at the top or the bottom and does a U shape or an upside down U shape. Which one's this? It's going to start top or bottom? And negative, so it's going to start bottom. So it will start right here. That's the bottom left corner of the box, and it'll end in the bottom right corner of the box, won't it? And it'll go up. In the middle, it'll max out, coming down. That's what we're looking at. That's one cycle of the cosine graph. Everybody see how I found all that stuff? So one more time. The midline was 4. That was the add 4. That was the midline. And then the amplitude was 3. So I took that midline 4, add 3, subtract 3. So 1 to 7. In the period, 2 pi over b, work that out, 4, 0 to 4. And then it's an upside down cosine. It's a negative cosine, so it's an upside down u. All right, which one of those does that? Right? Starts here, upside down u between 0 and 4. B's off in a lot of ways. The period on B is all messed up. Yeah, I mean, I guess that's the main way. The period's messed up. It's going between 0 and 1. That's not right. It's supposed to be 0 to 4.
Okay.
Like C is 0 to 4. If you can see that. That's good? Is that okay? Feel like you could do this?
So the shift, the midline shift will always come first and then the float?
Yeah, there is one.
Yes, it always will. Good question, Raul. Because, yeah, we had some trickery about the other way. Yeah, these cosine, cosine, always the midline first, then the flip. Good question. All right. Here. Okay, so that's a big mess. So let's take that thing. So this one have a midline that's been moved? No. There's nothing added, no number added out here or subtracted. So the midline has not been moved. The midline is just 0. And the amplitude is 9/5, so that just means it's going to go up to 9/5 and down to negative 9/5, right? Which looks like all the graphs do that. Oh, no, that one's out. Yeah, 2/5. No, that's craziness. Okay, so it's either A or B. So now we got to do the period. The period's kind of a big deal here. That'll probably settle the issue. Can you do the period? Go ahead and find the period on that one.
So does fraction makes it compress?
Well, remember, x always has opposite effect. So yeah, fraction on the y, compress. Fraction on the x, expand. Does opposite. So anyway, you don't need to think about all that. You don't have to worry about that. You can just find the period, and it'll tell you the story. So 2 pi over b. So 2 pi over, and what's b? B's right there is 2. And you don't need to worry about the negative. That doesn't matter. 2 pi over b. Grab that, flip it up. 2 pi times 5 over 2 pi. Good so far. Flip it up there, put this over 1, cancel. That's just 5. So the period is 5. So that means between 0 and 5. So we have our box, don't we? So I always like to just get the box, the one cycle box. So one cycle between 0 and 5 on the x, negative 9/5 and positive 9/5 on the y. One cycle of whatever graph we're sticking in there is going to happen in that box. And if you have one cycle, you got the whole graph, because then it just repeats. So, okay, it's a sine graph. It's a positive sine graph. So where does it start? Starts here at the origin. And where's it going to go? Up first or down first? It's a positive sign. Positive. So it's going up first. It's going to go up to its maximum, hit 0 halfway, down to its minimum, come back to 0. Between 0 and 5. Which one of those does that? Hey, they both go down.
Can you click on it because of the negative on the front of the 9/5? Since it's
Oh, you're right. I was thinking I could just fully ignore that negative. I can't fully
Is the
ignore that negative.
in front of 9/5?
because it's an odd
Yeah,
function.
because it's an odd function. Yeah, does everybody know what Luis is talking about or have no idea what he's talking
Gotta
about?
review that.
Yeah, so remember for sine, negative plugged inside, bring to the front. Because he's an odd function. For cosine, if we had cosine, cosine's an even function we learned yesterday. Negative, plugged inside, vanishes. You don't bring it to the front, it just vanishes. Poof, gone. So yeah, Luis is right. Bring that negative to the front. So negative should go to the front. So this graph is actually going to go down first, not up. I stand corrected. Down and then up. Like that. All right. Is it A? Yeah, it looks like A. This finishes at 5, huh? So it looks like A, which goes down first, then up, finishes at 5. What's wrong with B? Oh, it finished at 1/5. Yeah, that's not right. A it is. That's pretty advanced. I mean, look at that thing. That's a mess. Could you have done that 45 minutes ago?
What, take a guess?
I will not look at the negative.
Just roll the dice, huh? All right, good. So you're getting so already your graphical skills are pretty strong for sine and cosine. I mean, they don't get a lot messier than that. If you can wade through all that, you're doing quite well. Backwards, they're going to work backwards with equations and then graphs. So they're giving me an amplitude, they're giving me a period, and they want me to write a sine function. Well, remember the period is 2 pi over b. Oh, yeah, I should write up here first off, or maybe down here. We're wanting to find a sine bx.
Oh, that's easy.
That's generally what we're trying to find, right? A sine bx. Just set up a general formula. What's the a? That's just the 2, right? So it's 2 sine, and now we need to find the b.
Something times something equal 2 times something equals 6.
Well, they're telling me the period is 6 pi. So 6 pi is the period. Solve for b. Am I going too quick? All right, I'm using the period formula. The period's 2 pi over b. That's why you want to have that in your 3x5 card. Really important formula. Period's 2 pi over b. They're telling me the period's 6 pi. So 6 pi is 2 pi over b. Solve for b. Right? Put it over 1. Diagonal. Cross multiply. b times 6 pi. It's a b there. Is 1 times 2 pi divided by 6 pi. b equals pi's cancel 2 6. 1/3, huh? b's 1/3. So this is 1/3 x. b is 1/3. There it is. 2 sine 1/3 x. There it is. That okay?
How come it's not 2 sine of 3x?
B came out 1/3. Right? 2 divided by 6 is 1/3, not 3. Bigger numbers on the bottom.
Oh, yeah.
Right? If the 6 was on the top, that'd be 3. Right? Wherever the bigger number is. Right? If the bigger number's on the top, answer comes out a whole
Because
number.
when that flips, it would be 2 pi times 3.
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
I gotta remember that.
So y equals 7 cosine x. So the amplitude, what's in the front is a. What's next to x? A 1, really, huh? We call, whatever's in the front a. What's next to x, b. It's kind of like when you look at a quadratic formula or something, ABC kind of thing. So the amplitude is the absolute value of whatever number's in the front. So even if there was a -7 there, I would still say its absolute value -7, then the amplitude would still be +7. We just say positive always on the amplitude, kind of like we do for distance, right? If I'm going down to LA for Christmas, I don't say I'm going to go -400 miles because I'm going south. Nobody talks that way. Distance, we always just say positive. Same thing for amplitude. You always just give a positive answer. What is amplitude when it comes to the graph? In a minute, we're going to graph it.
Isn't that how wide it is?
It's how far above and below the x-axis the graph goes. So the sine, this one, or cosine, would go 7 above and 7 below, down to from -7 up to +7. Cyrus?
So it's just the distance from 0.
Distance from 0, exactly. All right, and then the b, well, they want the period, don't they? So the period is how long one cycle is. I'm going to give you a formula. Very important to put this on your 3x5 card. 2 pi over b. 2 pi over b is the period.
So it'd just be 2 pi for that one.
So it's just 2 pi over 1. It's just 2 pi for that one. Good so far? So figure in the amplitude and the period.
Oh, yeah, you can't see that, huh? Did you plug in getting the cable right because it's flickering.
I don't know why it's doing that. Everything's fine with me. Let's see, with my screen anyway, so maybe just the cable. All right, so 9 sine pi x. This is A, this is B. So the amplitude, that seemed to help. All right, so amplitude, so the amplitude is the number in the front, 9. Easy enough for you, right? Can you find the period on that one?
2 pi over pi, which is 2, right?
Exactly. Everybody good with that? So period is 2 pi over b. 2 pi, and b is pi right here, right? So, yep, period's just 2. So the period's 2 rather than 2 pi. When's our exam? Let me make sure I'm clear on our exam. We can write that up. Our exam number 4 is Monday, Tuesday of next week, right? Monday we'll do the part 1, like usual. Tuesday we'll do part 2. We'll have half of Monday for part 1, all of Tuesday for part 2. Like usual, exam 4 is next week. We'll go over the practice exam Thursday, the one I just handed out to you. Work on that if you want. I think it'd probably be beneficial, but I will go over practice exam. I'll go over practice exam number 4 in class on Thursday. This section, 6.4, is the last one on the exam. The exam covers 11.1 is actually where we started. Kind of seems backwards, but we did start with 11.1, and now we're finishing with 6.4. 6.4, this section, is the last one on the exam for next Monday. Okay, so let's keep moving. So, same thing, they want the amplitude and the period. Can you do that? Whoops. Just made the screen move there. So there's the amplitude. So the amplitude is that 4/5. And see if you can find the period of this one. 2 pi over b, right? This is A, this is B right there. So find the period. Pi over b. So 2 pi, and what's b? Now, I don't think they want negatives on period. I don't exactly remember. I think they just want the positive answer, don't they?
Isn't that the odd or even function?
Yeah, cosine's even, so we could just ignore that negative. But yeah, so I think you again, period, both period and amplitude are absolute value. I'm pretty sure. We'll check the answer in a second, but I'm pretty sure you don't do negatives. Because period's just how wide the cycle is. That wouldn't make any sense to do negative. So 5 over 2 pi, good so far. I flip, when you fraction on the bottom, flip it up, multiply, 2 pi over 1, 2 pi's cancel, 5. Period's 5. I'm pretty sure they don't say negative. Yeah, so indeed it is regular 5. We just, period and amplitude, we only give the positive answer. Okay, so now let's go to actual graphing. So how do we actually graph a sine? And this whole section is about sine and cosine only. We're only going to graph sine and cosine. How do you do it? Okay. Well, first off, let's find the period and the amplitude. So there's the amplitude, the A and the B. The A is 3, the B is 1/4. So period is 2 pi over B. It's 2 pi over B. And what is B? 1/4. So we grab that 1/4 from the bottom. You know the deal. Flip it up. 2 pi times 4 over 1. 8 pi. Period's 8 pi. Amplitude's 3. Okay, so now we want to graph that thing. I go to a fresh screen if you get that down. Pretty good with that. So we got amplitude 3, period 8 pi. So amplitude 3, period 8 pi. Okay, now what does that mean? So let's draw a graph. Oh, and you know what I should say? What you want to know is the basic sine graph. Remember how we learned to graph everything else we've learned to graph in this class? We learned the basic form without any shifts or anything, and then we know how to do shifts and stuff, right? So what is the basic form of sine? It starts at the origin, goes up, back to 0, down, back to 0. That's between 0 and 2 pi. It goes to a depth of -1, a height of +1. Everybody okay with that? So the basic sine graph goes from 0 to 2 pi. It starts at the origin, notice, because in a minute we're going to do cosine, and the difference with cosine is a very small difference. Cosine starts at its top instead of starting at the origin. It starts at its peak, well, if there's a positive amplitude in front. It starts at the bottom if there's a negative amplitude in front. But anyway, he never starts at the origin. That's the difference. Cosine never starts at the origin. He either starts at his max or his min. Where sine starts at the origin. Goes up in goes up in 0, down in 0. Between 0 and 2 pi, a depth of -1, a height of +1. That's the basic sine graph with no shifts or stretches or anything like that. Now we're in a position to draw this particular sine graph. This one has an amplitude of 3 and a period of 8 pi. So instead of between 0 and 2 pi, he'll do one cycle between 0 and 8 pi. One cycle between 0 and 8 pi instead of 2 pi. And he'll do what? He'll do this, up and down. Up and 0, down and 0. Between 0 and 8 pi, one cycle. Because that's what period means, right? How long till the end of one cycle. Right, sine and cosine both go on forever. They just keep, you guys know that, right? They just keep repeating their cycle. It'll just go up and down, this way to down and up. You know, just it's the same thing, just forever in both directions, as you know, right? But I'm just focusing on one cycle. Once I get one cycle correct, then all the rest are the same. So I'm going to just get one cycle correct. So one cycle is going to happen between 0 and 8 pi. So that means halfway, right, halfway, it's going to hit 0 again. So that'd be at 4 pi. That's halfway to 8 pi. So what's it going to do in between? It's going to go up and 0, down and 0. One cycle between 0 and 8 pi. That's a full cycle, because after that it'll just do the same thing again. It'll go up and 0, down and 0, up, and just keep going. And how high up does it go, and how far down does it go? Amplitude's 3, so up to 3, down to -3. There it is. Now, which one of those graphs, A, B, C, or D? It looks like B, doesn't it? Starts at 0, back to 0 at 8 pi. Yep.
So cosine will always start either max or min?
Yep.
And sine will always start at the origin?
Sine always starts at the origin. Cosine always starts at his top or bottom, positive top, negative bottom. Right? That's the difference. Luis?
What would make it look like C? What would we have to do to the number?
Yeah. Very next question. So see how -7 is the number 7 is the exact same question, but with a negative in the front. Y equals -3 sine 1/4 x. So the A is the same except it's negative. The B is the same. The period's going to come out the same. All it's the same. It's just got a negative in front. So we're still talking period 8 pi. It's all the same. So you go 0, 8 pi. It's going to hit 0 again halfway through at 4 pi. But because of the negative in front, what does that mean? You guys know, right? We've graphed for a while now. That negative multiplier, a negative number multiplied to the front of any function, is that an x effector or y effector?
Y.
That's a y, because it's not in here with x. It's outside, so it's a y, so it has a negative effect on y, an up-down kind of effect. What does it do? Flips the graph upside down. Remember, whenever you multiply by a negative number, just flips the graph upside down. So instead of the sine graph going, the normal sine goes up first, then down.
Gotta go down.
It'll go down first, then up. Won't it? Just upside down. So that makes it which answer? They've moved it around now.
That makes it,
Isn't it A?
yeah.
It goes down first, then up. Yeah, it's answer A. That's what makes that happen.
It's not C because it has two of them, right?
It's not C, no, they can put more than one, but it's not C because it goes up first.
Oh, yeah.
So it goes up first. And it's not B because it doesn't even start at the origin. And it's not D because it doesn't start at the origin. Those are cosine graphs. B and D. They don't start at the origin. Good?
Is that for us?
That's for us. That's a new message.
That worked out really good for my schedule.
That's how I planned it. -6 cosine 1/4 x. All right, so cosine. We're talking about a cosine graph now. So, well, first off, let's find the amplitude and the period. Amplitude A, here's B. There's A and there's B. So what's the amplitude? It's just 6. The negative means it's going to be upside down, right? The period, 2 pi over B, 2 pi over 1/4. Yeah, same thing as before. Flip it up, 2 pi times 4 over 1, 8 pi. So 8 pi is the period. 8 pi is the period. Now, careful. I think looking at the answers could kind of confuse you at this point, because what they'll do is they'll do more than one cycle. Sometimes they'll do a cycle and a half, 2 cycles, so they can kind of confuse you. I wouldn't. Sometimes I say, look at the options. That'll eliminate them right away. But I think they could confuse you. I would just stay focused on your own box and making the graph in your own box. Okay, so let's do that. So where's the box? It's going to go from 0 to 8 pi, isn't it? Because that's the period. We'll do one cycle between 0 and 8 pi, and it's going to go from a depth of -6 to a height of +6 because that's the amplitude. So I'm going to make a box like that. 0 to 8 pi, -6 to +6, and put the cosine graph, one cycle, in that box. Now, we got to talk about basic cosine, how that's different than basic sine. Put it in up here. So we already talked, and I know I've said it a couple times, but let me be real clear with it. So again, basic sine. What's the basic sine? Starts at the origin, goes up, down, back to 0. Basic cosine. What does basic cosine do? Starts high, goes down, back high. Makes that kind of like a U shape. The base of the only difference between cosine and sine is where they start. They're the same thing. If you kept going on the cosine, he would look just like the sine. They're just shifted in their starting. That's why they're called cosine and sine. Why is there a co in front? Like why do 3 of the trig functions have the word co in front? Why don't we just have like 6 totally different words? Why do we have sine and cosine, tangent and cotangent, secant and cosecant?
Thing, just something else in front of it.
Right. And what does the co means? Anybody know coming out of trig?
2.
It's a shift. It means complementary angles. Co stands for complementary angles, which are 2 angles that add to be 90 degrees. Anyway, you don't got to know that. But that just means these functions are shifted 90 degrees from each other. That's all they are. Sine and cosine are the same thing. They're just a 90 degrees phase shift. You don't have to know that. I'm not going to test you on that, but that is where that name comes from. So, cosine is just a shift. It's just, instead of starting at the origin, cosine starts high, ends high, unless there's a negative in the front, like ours has a negative in the front. So that's going to turn it upside down, and he'll start low, end low, and he'll go high in the middle.
So it's A.
Like that. Well, hold on, I haven't even looked at them yet. So everybody good with that basic understanding of how you put cosine in the box? So cosine is like a big U, starting high, ending high, unless there's a negative in front, then he'll start low, end low. Whereas sine starts at the origin. It starts at 0, ends at 0, starting at the origin. Okay, so now that's one cycle. This is one cycle. It'll keep repeating this to the right and the left forever. So now, yeah, let's answer which one is it. Is it A?
No, it's B. Looks like B.
Does A start low? That looks good so far. Let's go on and look. Could it be B? B starts high. No way. Could it be C? C starts high. No way. See why? No way it's B and C? Is it D? D starts low. So both A and D are good so far. They both start low.
But that period.
But this one only goes to pi. We're supposed to go to 8 pi. They think, oh yeah, but this is 16 pi. I better choose none of the above. Careful, don't get fooled. They did 2 cycles in there. Do you see that? See, he starts here, ends here, his first cycle, which is halfway, which is 8 pi. That's the same graph we have. They just repeated the second cycle.
Oh, tricky.
So watch out for that. So it is A.
Is sine odd because the starting points end up in the different, they're not like the cosine function, the points are even? on the same height, whereas the sine function,
Right. You are correct, Luis.
higher points are.
Sine function goes like this. So if you go whatever to the right and find a height, it's the same distance left, but it's negative that height. That's why sine of any angle x, or negative x, the negative comes to the front. Whereas cosine starts high, goes like that, so other side, same thing. So if you go any distance to the right and you go that same distance to the left, it's the same height. So cosine of negative angle x, negative x, is the same as cosine of positive x. It's the same height. Whereas if you go right and left with sine, it's the same height, but it's negative. It's down there instead of up there. So he's odd and he's even. Yeah, that's what's going on. You're right. That's the deeper reasoning. Okay, so good. So there we go. So the main thing with cosine again, cosine starts high, ends high. Whereas sine starts at the origin, ends at 0 as well. That's the fundamental difference. They're just shifted. Okay, y equals 6 cosine x.
That's pretty easy.
Yeah, could you just, without doing it, well, I've already checked the a, haven't I? That helps. But can you see why it's obviously a without even doing anything? Why is it just what do you know about the basic cosine? Where does he start?
Starts up top.
Starts high. It is a positive 6. So cosine has to start at his top, not here, not his bottom, at the y-axis. Cosine does not start low. Cosine does not start low. No way. It's got to be a. They're not even starting out right. I don't even need to look at anything else. So it's a. Okay, great. What else do they want? They want the domain. This is cake. Remember what domain is? It's width coverage. Domain is always how far left and right? Negative infinity to regular infinity, huh? You know, that's always the case for sine and cosine. And this whole section is just sine and cosine. That's all we're doing. So their domains are always negative infinity to positive infinity. Now, what's the range? The range is the up-down, isn't it? So the up-down, yeah, the range, yeah, it goes down to, or is it 8? Oh, 6.
No, 6. Down 6, up 6.
Down 6. And it's got to be brackets because it does hit those. It hits 6 right on. It hits negative 6 right on. Brackets negative 6 to positive 6. You always got to put the bottom first, then the top, right? Just like we do left. For domain, left, and then right. Good? Easy enough? Okay, so y equals sine 2x. Just think about the start. Don't even think about anything deep. Don't even find the period or mess with that. Just which one is starting right?
See,
Yeah, where does sine have to start?
at
At his origin. It's got to be C. Because B is starting low and A is starting low. No, that'd be a negative cosine function, wouldn't it? That's not right. It's got to be C. And then domain and range, piece of cake, right? What's the domain? Negative infinity, positive infinity. What's the range? What's the bottom? What's the top? -1, +1, right? Easy, easy.